Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Rays Rewind with Bell, Bushman, and Drew.
Jansen. That is into center field. Here comes Kiermaier. Phillips has tied the game. Arose Arena coming around. Throw home. Now he stumbles. But the ball gets away. Tampa Bay wins it. Brett Phillips, Game 4 hero.
The sickest Tampa Bay Rays podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Rays Rewind podcast, the sickest Tampa Bay Rays podcast on the Sick Podcast Network. I am the Great Old Bushman, and joining me, as usual, is my co-host, Drew. Welcome, everybody. Make sure to go to your YouTube page and hit that like and subscribe notification bell when new episodes drop at the Sick Podcast Rays Rewind, and go to our Instagram page at Rays Rewind Pod and follow us there. We like followers because we post stuff, and even though we haven't posted in a while because I've been out of the country on a Bahamas trip. So, yeah. So, welcome back in a brand new episode. At the time of this recording, the Rays did drop today's series finale against the Baltimore Orioles, but they did take 2 out of the 3, which is I'm fine with that because I think coming out of the gate, we wanted them to at least win the first 2 and win the series going into another series against the Chicago White Sox, which will be starting tomorrow. So I'm fine with dropping. I'm okay with it. 2 out of 3 is fine, even though everybody else in the division won today. The New York won again, Toronto won again, and then the Red Sox won again too. So didn't gain any ground at all, which sucks. Now we're kind of we're one more game behind now. But I was encouraged by the first 2 games, especially on Saturday night's game where they came back to win against the Orioles, where they were trailing for a while. Once again, Dean Kramer, the Rays' Achilles heel when it comes to Orioles pitching. Once again, thoughts on this weekend series, Drew? What did you think? Were you encouraged by the first 2 victories? I know with the hit show that Junior Caminero was putting on this weekend, that was very encouraging. I was wrong. Okay, I was dead wrong. He can go into the home run derby every single year if he's going to be doing this coming out of the gate. I'm okay with it. I was wrong. Scott Braun, I was wrong. So you can quote me. I'll eat an old shoe if I have to. So
yeah, man, welcome back. The Rays always seem to do this where it's like, I mean, they certainly have had their share of sweeps on the positive side.
Yeah.
But, it's like it all is. I always feel like when they win 2 and lose the final game, it always feels like you have a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth, despite now you feel like you should feel better about 2 out of 3 than you do.
It takes some wind out of the sails too.
A little bit, and I think it also is dependent. It depends too on like, okay, the Rays position where they're at. We've got a few teams that we have our eye on in terms of how they're doing. The Red Sox, the Mariners, the Yankees, and I guess you could throw the Blue Jays in there for the division. But if like all those teams lose too, then it's like, all right, well, man, you kind of feel like maybe you missed out. Like today, everybody else won. So, right, I think the Mariners actually lost, but so yeah, it just kind of takes the wind out of your sails a little bit because when you get the first 2, you kind of feel like, all right, let's go get this sweep. And I know Trevor Rogers has been pitching better lately. The Rays had hit him well when he pitched at Steinbrenner earlier in the year, and kind of got in a hole, but I really thought they were going to come back, and especially after last night's game, you felt like they had turned a corner, had the energy on their side, and had a chance there at the end. I'm old. I've been thinking about it today though. I'm disappointed that they lost, but honestly, it didn't eat me up as much as I thought. Like it just is what it is. I thought they needed to win 2 out of 3 against Baltimore, but Baltimore is a team I never would want to play anymore. Like I don't think they play them till the end of the year, which is good, but I know their record isn't good. And they're going to have some guys. They're going to look a little different by the time we play them again in September. They're going to look different. I'm sure guys like Ryan O'Hearn and Cedric Mullins, if Mike Elias or whatever his name is does his job
Oh,
right. Those
dude,
guys
I've heard everybody's pretty much available. Like even
yeah,
like
except for
Eflin's available, Charlie Moore's
yeah,
available.
they're
Like
gonna look way different.
Yeah.
But they're like I know their record's not good, but they are not a team they're still like got all these names in the lineup that I mean, Colton Cowser's killed the Rays. Ramon Laureano always seems to kill the Rays. Gunnar Henderson has certainly, I mean, he's coming on a lot much stronger. Like they have a lot of good players in their lineups. Like to get 2 of 3 from them, I expected. That's why I wanted.
Would
So
you have
I'm
rather have had
optimistic.
them lost the first game and then won the next two and
I
like flip
I think
flop it? Like, hey, they dropped the first one, but they won the next two instead of they
yeah,
won the first two and then dropped the last one.
yeah, I think it's all just perception. I mean, yeah, because then if they go and win, it's like if they go and let's say they sweep the White Sox, right? Like then all right, all of a sudden we're on a 5-game winning streak, and it's like
Right.
this team's rolling, and not that it just all perception, and again, it also depends on what the other teams you're chasing or the other teams you care about how they do. So it was kind of a bummer to not stay within that half game buffer of the Red Sox, and now it would have been the Mariners as well. But hey, 2 or 3 against a good I think they're a good team. Like the Baltimore Orioles, especially after last night's win where they really didn't look like they were going to do anything all game because like you said, Dean Kramer turns into Greg Maddux. Rays. But I'm optimistic. I mean, I think they've got of course, they get the White Sox coming in on a 3-game heater against your Pittsburgh Pirates, where they scored 27 runs over 3 games. So that's always good. They just got their first sweep of the season against the Pirates, so they're getting the White Sox at an interesting time. But the pitching matchups favor the Rays. Of course, they get I know at least 2 right-handed starters coming in. With the White Sox who they've got scheduled. I don't think they've got a pitcher decided yet for the second game. And the Rays have the highest batting average against right-handed pitching this year. So
See, for me, this series is they have to play better than the level of the team that they're playing. This is a team where they should sweep. Like there's no excuses on this. Like you should sweep this team and get back on another winning streak. Like there's no excuse. If you drop 2 out of the 3, we're in trouble, especially when it comes to the trade deadline.
Yep.
To me, if they don't win the series against the White Sox, I think you can call it.
Yeah,
I think you can call it because because then you're just going to be defeated, and then what I said before the show when Neander's saying, "Hey, we're going to monitor this on what we're going to be doing at the deadline." I think that might be a wrap. If they don't win against the White Sox, where you should sweep them or take 2 out of the 3, the season to me will be kind of like lost if you don't do that. Because then you're probably going to be down even more games in the standings below.
I think I just think it really depends again on the other teams that you're chasing. If you win 1 out of 3, let's say worst case scenario, they win 1 out of 3, but Boston gets swept by Philly because they're on the road in Philly. And New York and Toronto are facing each other, whatever. They split. I don't know how many games they're playing this week. And Seattle gets Milwaukee, who's won 10 in a row, for the next 3 to 4 games. Like, hey, let's say those Seattle and Boston, either get swept or, it's like, all right, well, then all of a sudden you're still only a half game out, so you're really not out of it. But I agree. Like if they lose the series against the White Sox, whether it's 2 out of 3 they lose or a sweep, absolute worst case scenario. And then Boston and teams like Boston, Seattle go out and win their series against Philadelphia and Milwaukee or, whatever, sweep the like now you're in some danger. You could say, all right, with the schedule they've got coming up, it's not looking good.
This is an opportune time to pick up some games, especially with the Red Sox playing the Phillies, and then Toronto and New York beating on themselves. This is a perfect opportunity. This is a perfect opportunity to gain some ground where they're going into the next series. I think they're playing the Reds after this, and then you're playing the Yankees too. Like this is an opportune time to pick up some games by sweeping the White Sox because of these teams playing each other, and then the Red Sox playing the Phillies, who are red hot right now. So I don't want to hold my breath for the rest of the season, but like the time is now. The time is now because coming up to the trade deadline, if they're not at where they're supposed to be, the Rays are going to look definitely a little bit different after the trade deadline too.
Yep. Well, and it goes back to like our episode we had after the Red Sox series before the All-Star game. These 6 to 9 games here are as important of a stretch as they've had all season. Like, I think they took care of business, right? They passed their first test. I was never expecting a sweep over Baltimore, but you got out with a series win with a chance at a sweep. Almost, could have won it at the end had the umpire called that fourth pitch a ball, which it was a ball, or Junior comes up with big hit, whatever. Like that, they had a chance at the end. It's all you can ask for, especially when you're down 4-0 to start. And but they took care of business, and now they got to take care of business against Chicago, which is at minimum 2 of 3. And you really need to sweep. I think of the 9 games here, because then you go into 4 against New York after the Cincinnati series next week. And I was telling my son this earlier. We were talking about it. I think you got to go at least 6-3, because then you're picking up 3 games. That's a series, basically a series win in all 3. If you work a sweep in there, it gives you a little more of a buffer for maybe a down series. But if you go 6-3 in those 9, you pick up 3 games. I think with the schedule that teams like Boston have against Philadelphia, and I think, they struggled against Chicago. So you pick up a game on the Red Sox, to start. I think Boston they play the Dodgers at Fenway, and the Dodgers aren't playing great, but
the Dodgers are still the Dodgers.
The Dodgers are still the Dodgers. And so I think if you pick up 3 games on your own record, go 6-3, I think you're probably looking at least picking up another couple games on a team like Boston right now with the schedule they're going into, or even a team like Seattle, who, they could stumble against a really hot Brewers team. So that's kind of my bar I've set. Anything that's 6-3 or above for me is a success, because then you go into a big 4-game series against the Yankees, and you're not going to get any favors with the Yankees in their rotation, but I'm sure we're going to get.
I think with this next 2 weeks, it's crucial going into August, this next stretch, because of the types of games they're playing, and then the people that we're chasing too, and the wild card is the next 2 weeks are crucial. If they're not back into the 1 or 2 spot in the wild card, or even the 3rd spot, then we're in for some big trouble, because I look at it as, now Neander and co are going to look at this as, okay, well, we're now going to look at 2026 now instead of 2025, because it's probably out of the reach now, which I hope they don't do that. But now there's rumblings about, okay, well, Yandy's might be available. I highly doubt that. Like that, there's a rumor that came last week that Boston is interested in trading for Yandy Diaz. I'm like, that would be the dumbest thing for them to trade in division to the Red Sox, Yandy Diaz. So whoever came up with that was kind of stupid. But I'm just to me, they can't. There's no stumbling, man. There's no stumbling like they did before the All-Star break. And that's my main concern, is like, I don't think Shane McClanahan's I don't think he's going to be back. Like his last start in Durham wasn't too great. I think he's still in a lot of pain. I think he's just trying to push himself to get back to where he was. That way he can rejoin the rotation, because they need it, but I don't think he's going to be back. I think they're going to shut him down.
Oh, that's your prediction. Well, because they said, I read today he's doing a bullpen, and then they're going to start him on Thursday.
I wasn't too encouraged about his line, and they're saying his top velocity for his fastball was between 92 and 93.
Yeah, which is normally like
that's
4 higher.
Yeah, that to me is not a good sign. And look, y'all, I'm trying to be positive here. I'm trying to be a positive, but also optimistic as well. Like, where we're at. And I just want them to, get red hot like they were, about a month ago where they were the hottest team in baseball. That's why I want them to be that. It's
Well,
like fall from grace sucks, but there's only one way up, and that's up. So
yeah, I mean, again, it just this is as important of a stretch as they'll have all year, because again, the games leading up into the deadline are magnified because it can dictate with the Rays, especially what they do. And I know we're going to talk about it a little bit more in depth here coming up, but we've seen this before. I think, early on, before that kind of stretch there at the beginning of the month of July, the Rays were, a half game out of the division. And I think, we can always correlate the Rays being aggressive at the trade deadline, buying for how they feel about their chances to win the division. So, if they can somehow close the gap to 2 to 3 games on the division, before the deadline, I think you could see the Rays. I think you could see the Rays be more aggressive buyers, and certainly that doesn't mean getting rid of guys like Brandon Lau, Yandy, Pete Fairbanks, the kind of the guys that come up. But if they're 5-6 games out of the division, but hey, we're still around the wild card race, kind of like we are now.
yeah,
It's going to be. I think you're going to see a couple, a guy or two, or they're going to do the buy sell thing, where they maybe. I think you could see a guy like Pete Fairbanks go. I think out of all the three, to me, I feel like he would be the one that would go. They do a mix of buy or sell, and then certainly if they fall out of it somehow, and it's like, hey, we're 4 games back of the wild card, and yeah, that's still possible, but they got to make some hard decisions here at the deadline. I think that's when you'd start seeing guys like Brandon Lau and Pete Fairbanks and maybe Yandy go. I agree. Yandy to me is the least likely. There is that rumor going around. I don't really know where that's about. I think that the Rays. I read too that I can't remember if it was Ken Rosenthal. I think it was Ken Rosenthal. They said, I think he said Brandon Lau and Pete Fairbanks would be more likely just because they have 1-year deals. Essentially, like they have only have club options for next year.
yeah.
And Yandy's still got stuff through 2027. And he's playing so great. I mean, he's been
quietly putting together a nice little season so far.
Yeah, I mean, he was struggling and there was some real concern there, but I mean, he's up to a 294 average. Yeah, he's crushing it. So, I mean, I'm trying to see. Shoot, this is not the most friendly. I mean, his splits for the month of July. I mean, I'm just finding it out. He's hitting 310, 2 homers, 10 RBIs, 310 in this month. He hit 400 in the month of June,
which nobody's really talking about. Nobody's really talking about that.
I mean, he actually had better He had better numbers than pretty much. I think Ryan O'Hearn. He had better numbers than O'Hearn going into the All-Star break, but Brent Rucker had him beat. So I mean, to me, like they would have to be really out of it by the deadline to consider moving Yandy at the deadline now. I think he's at least likely to go, but I don't know. I mean, it's just tough. They're always in this kind of borderline scenario. And it's when they're close to the division where it gets really exciting because they've shown they're not afraid to trade some guys, trade some prospects to to go and get a bat or an actual difference maker at the deadline. But I just don't think they're really going to do that. I think you're really going to see them if they buy at all at this point. I think it would be on the margins, and then they would still potentially sell guys like Zach Littell, Pete Fairbanks, because in theory, like I know Pete's been the guy, and kind of like when the Brewers sent Hader away a few years ago, like it can be a little disheartening and discouraging to trade your closer when you're technically in the middle of a playoff race. But
I'm okay. See, but I'm okay with Pete going because you could
I mean,
put in like Joe Boyle as your closer. You could
yeah,
put it
well,
if you wanted to.
yeah, and like I mean, to be honest, I don't feel like Pete's been that good this year. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm over. I'm over.
I think the last maybe month or so he's been kind of like you have to hold your breath when he gets on there because he's been giving up hits.
I mean,
Especially that home run against the Red Sox too was kind of a killer as well. But
yeah, that was tough. I mean, I'm trying to find his pitching. I mean, his
I mean,
Ks are
I look at
down.
it this way, Drew. If I want them, if they're close before the deadline, which is what next week. If they're close, I want them to be aggressive. I want them to be the most aggressive they've ever been. Maybe that's because hey, they're getting a new owner. Which great solo show, by the way, about the
Thanks. Yeah.
the sale going to be going through in September, which was a shocker, by the way. That came like as soon as I left the port, I get alerts which I
I
can't
know.
even see, and then all of a sudden I kind of see it on Twitter because I had to get the internet package just for one day so I could see it, and I was like, oh okay. It takes for me to go on a boat to finalize the sale of the Rays. It's going to happen in September.
Well, and then he was already the guy was already buddying up with Manfred at the home run derby.
Yeah, so that's a good sign, man.
Well, and I don't know if you saw this nugget from Topkin, or no, it wasn't Topkin. It was Bob Nightingale, USA Today, which his stuff is free, by the way. So if he drops these long articles with all these nuggets, it's actually pretty interesting. He made it seem like the Rays fans have Zalewski to thank for Major League Baseball, saying the Rays can play their home games for the playoffs in Tampa.
Well, if that's true, then that's a great first move by our new owner.
Yeah. Well, they said they were really considering having them play in Miami. Strongly considering Miami as a place for them to play their home games, but they wanted to make Zalewski happy as kind of the new incoming owner, and wanted, and so they said they could play it in Tampa.
Good.
So, hey,
I'm glad.
that's
I saw that too, and I was like, all right, it takes for me to go on a cruise for this stuff that happens. Maybe I actually leave the country more often. So I'm happy about it. I'm happy about it. I'm glad too, because that whole idea for them to play down in the Marlins Stadium would have been stupid.
Okay, so you mentioned you want to be really aggressive. So
Yes.
let's say, they get through, because when they start playing that Yankees series, it is going to be, I think the deadline is Thursday, not this Thursday, but the Thursday after, right? So sorry, I just pull up. I was on the MLB schedule. So they play. So Thursday, July 31st is the trading deadline, which will be interesting because they play New York that week, and I am sure the Yankees at that point, it would be a very lucky break for the Yankees not to make a move until the day of the deadline or the day before. But you figure they're probably going to have made their big trade for Eugenio Suarez or somebody by that point. But you're coming into Monday, July 28th against the New York Yankees. You are a half game out of the wild card, and you're a half game out of the wild card against the Red Sox. The Mariners are 2 games up, on you, 2.5 games up on you. The division's 5 games out. So you're in this scenario, you're saying bye. And then, so what are you doing with because you're going to have, I think, I know you said Shane in your scenario, I guess Shane's not coming back, but
Yep.
assuming we don't hear anything different about him being shut down, let's just assume he's coming back, because we have no reason to believe that, based on what's been said and their current plan, that he won't be coming back. So Shane's coming back. They're saying late July, early August, which is perfect time for him to slide right in after a starter gets traded, right? So what are you doing if you're aggressive buyers in your mind? What does that look like for you? In a couple moves or something, what do you? I feel like you would have some decisions to make about the pitching staff.
Right. So
stuff like
first,
that.
my first duty would be to get help in the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going there.
Mm-hmm.
Hypothetical situation: Shane is coming back, right? Shane is coming back
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Shane is coming back. Okay, so my rotation is probably going to be McClanahan, Pepio, Bradley, who pitched well. I mean, he looked good. Bradley's
Mm-hmm.
still going to be there. Boz is still going to be there, and Rasmussen is still going to be there. So that's my rotation. Littell is probably going to be traded.
Okay.
He's going to go, and then I'm going to be doing a package deal. I'm going to stop being. I'm going to stop coveting prospects as
Mm-hmm.
as the GM for the Lightning says. F them picks. I'm going to say F them draft picks, or F them prospects, and I'm going to go out and get Emmanuel. I think it's Emmanuel. What's his last name?
Class A.
Clase from the Guardians. I'm going to go out and get
Okay.
him. They've been said he's available now. Or hell, I mean, I heard Felix Bautista is actually available now too from the Orioles, but that would
Mm-hmm.
never happen. So maybe make an offer to the O's for him, or go out and get Emmanuel Clase for one of those guys. Maybe go over to the Minnesota Twins. And see if any of their relievers are available. I think one of the names that's been floating around right now is it what's his name? Garrett. No, it's not Garrett. Oh man, hold on a second.
On who?
The Twins. The Twins.
Oh, Griffin Jacks.
Griffin Jacks. Yeah, Griffin Jacks. I would see if he's available too as well. And then, I wanna maybe get a bat as well. But the thing is I don't want to overpay. I want to be aggressive, but I don't want to overpay for somebody that is a rental. You know what I mean? But there hasn't really been any kind of market right now for big bats, except for Arizona's made their guy available. But I doubt we'd get him, and I doubt we'd get Kyle Stowers from the Marlins too as well. So I don't know. If they wanted to go for a big bat, I'd have to make some phone calls to see who's available. But like relief pitching is kind of like the top priority right now. So I'm gonna go.
That would be where you're buying is
That's
relief
where
pitching,
that's
and
where I'm buying the most is
maybe
relievers. So
on
that's
the
where I'm gonna
margins somewhere else. Oh,
yeah. That's where I'm going.
can you hear me still?
Yeah. I still can.
Okay. My headphones just died on me, so
Oh.
I thought I had more time on them. But yeah, so I don't disagree with that. I think if you're going to be an aggressive buyer, I would think that makes you more likely to potentially trade a guy like Taj Bradley or a Shane Baz to get a better upgrade bat wise.
Okay, so if you're out of those two, who's going, Bradley or Boss?
I don't know. I just think it's so weird that they had that headline about the Rays saying they were willing to listen about Taj.
I don't know where that came from.
I don't know, but it was on MLB Trade Rumors, so it was like not. They don't source from just like garbage.
Right.
It's always like journalists and stuff.
I think with the Rays, I think they're open to listening to any kind of offer.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? For no matter who it is, even if it's obviously the untouchables, they're not going to hear anything on it. But like for some guys that you wouldn't have thought would be traded, I think they're going to listen to whoever. You know what I mean? Especially with our starting pitching, because there's going to be a lot of teams that want starting pitching. But if they're in it, they're not going to be like, nah, we're not going to trade you Bradley, unless it's a blockbuster deal where they get a lot back for that.
If I had to be okay, well, Shane, I'm looking at contract. The financials, and this might not be an issue in the future with Zalewski. We don't really know. I mean, you would assume that like.
Hey, he says he's going to spend money. So
well, I was going to say, has there been any talk about that? I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen anything.
There's been kind of like rumors here and there saying you
would think he's got money to do it if
he's got money to do it.
Buy it.
like Kyle Tucker's name has been kind of out there saying, hey, since he's from Tampa, like
Yeah,
the
Ken
Rays,
Rosenthal was talking about that.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the Rays might be, since we're getting new ownership, the Rays will open up the pocketbook and start attracting big name free agents because of the pocketbooks being open with a new ownership group, because they want to bring in fans, they want to bring in butts to the seats, especially if they have a new stadium that's going to be built in Tampa, which is now the site. I mean, they're saying Tampa is it. There's no St. Pete anymore. It's Tampa. So if they want to bring butts and seats, they want to attract free agents. So if they're going to be now big spenders, then those are the types of the free agents that you want to go after.
Yeah. So if I got to pick between Taj and Shane, and I'm just going to take money out of it for a second, I would probably choose to trade Taj.
Okay.
I think that Shane has a better chance of being a really good starting pitcher that's really reliable. I think if I had to pick, it would be Shane that I'd want to keep, even though he is a little bit further along in his, he just signed an arbitration deal or to avoid arbitration. So he's going to be, excuse me, he's going to be ARB2 in 2026. He'll be a free agent after 2028. Whereas Taj wouldn't be a free agent until like 2030, I think, or maybe even after the 2030 season. So I realize that he's got more control. I feel like I trust Shane more to be a more reliable starter. So I would probably pick to trade Taj, because I also think that he could get you, like, it's a situation where I think down the road you could see Taj, you could be like, wow, we traded Taj, who definitely had shown flashes, kind of like Chris Archer, which he was much further along. I'm not saying they're comparable necessarily player wise and stat wise, but like we traded Taj and got this great, either a great prospect haul that like guys that are like ready to contribute to the major league level, or we got a great haul for guys that are like impact major league players right now. For a guy that, he's been really good at times, but you look back and like, I can't believe that someone valued him that much. Whereas Shane, I think he could really turn into a really big time starter if everything breaks right. Plus, also too, like, I don't know Taj's injury history from high school or after he got drafted when he was coming up in the minors, but like Shane's already had the Tommy John surgery. He already had Tommy John last 2 years ago, right? Came back from that last year. I mean, like, you kind of feel like if Taj hasn't had it yet, it's going to happen eventually. You hate to think that way, but like it just feels like it's a ticking time bomb with these pitchers that haven't had Tommy John yet. So I kind of feel like Shane would be the safer option. I think it also could come down to like maybe you approach both players and see who's willing to sign an extension, who's willing to sign a real team friendly deal, and then all right, let's do that, and then we'll trade the other guy. Not that that would happen now, but like I don't know, maybe they have a sense of who would be willing to do something like that. So I would say Shane. I'd keep him around, trade Taj. I think that I do think that I think Zach Littell is somebody who probably is gone and realistically gone no matter what.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, we're back. We had some technical issues. I have no idea where I was at when things dropped. So I'm just gonna say again, the team's performance this week got off to a great start with this weekend with the Orioles. The team's performance this week is going to determine what this team does at the trade deadline. A bad week could mean guys like Brandon Lau and Yandy and Pete Fairbanks. You're going to hear those names come up for sure. I think it would seal the fate for Zach Littell being traded away. I think above average to great week could mean you see some more additions, guys like Pete, Brandon, Yandy all staying. I think Zach Littell could go. And you never know. The Rays are always willing to do something crazy and trade. They could trade. We've seen a report about Taj being potentially available. They could do something weird like that too. They would be weird and somehow would rather keep Zach at the $5 million for this next year and then maybe try and get some big value out of one of their younger pitchers. I don't know. There's so many options. It feels like.
See, I want them to be
to
weird
know.
though. I want them to be weird, and I want them to be aggressive. So that's why I
think
hope
for me,
they're.
it depends
hope
on what
that-
they're weird for.
Right.
You know,
And
like
that's why I want them to sweep the White Sox. I want them to go into the next few series as, hey, we're serious about doing this. I don't want them at the deadline to be the sellers. I don't want them to stumble. So I want them to be weird. I want them to make some splashes at the deadline. That way they can stay in it, stay in the race, and we can play baseball in October. That's what I want.
that would
That's all I
be
asked for, Rays. I mean, come on. That's all I asked
and
for.
you know what's great too is I honestly would have zero expectations for October baseball. Like if they made it to the playoffs, I feel like I could go in for the first time in a while and just be like, all right, I'm not expecting anything great here, but let's just get in and see what happens. You know,
Right.
I mean, it feels like I don't know. So it's like, yeah, just whatever they can do to get us into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And you never know. And I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see. I think this week I'm hoping for like I said, 6-3 in those first 9 games out of the break. So we're 2-1. I mean, if they could sweep White Sox and win a series against the Reds on the road and go 7-2, that would be fantastic.
It'd be a happy day. I'd feel a little bit better going into the deadline. So
So we'll see, but I'm looking forward to it, man. The team, I mean, they're playing well. Yeah, juniors, he's
crushing it, man. So
on
I'll
pace for 40.
never doubt the home run derby again. So yeah, Junior can go into it every single year. And I got to watch it on the cruise ship, but it was pretty awesome to go into the finals. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm liking this. I'm liking this. So
Hey, real quick, last thing. The Rays bullpen, he's freaking out about it, right? And for good reason, they played terrible going into the break. How much better do you feel with them saying, all right, we're just going to put Boyle in as a multi-inning reliever, and
I'm fine
they're
with that.
keeping Seymour right now, which he's pitched great. So I mean, I don't know what their plan is. Maybe they want to wait until Mason's ready to come back up because they're going to bring Mason up.
Yep.
But like, I don't know. I was like, oh man, I kind of now that they're not doing the whole Boyle, like he's just going to piggyback up Drew. Like in my mind, the bullpen feels much better. In theory,
I was glad they brought up Boyle and Seymour. Baker looked pretty good today. I think he
I
needs
actually
to
missed the last few innings he pitched. I missed the last few innings we went out. The rain delay I was like, I'm just going to go.
he looked pretty good. He looked better than his first time
Good.
out. But and the
I
thing
missed
I
that
think
he
he
pitched.
needs to let go of him. Like he tipped his cap to the Orioles bench. Like, come on, like let it go, bro. I know you were on that team, you miss him, but like you're on a new team. Let it
He
go.
did? When?
Yeah, he tipped his
I did
cap
not. I didn't see any of the
when he was. I think
last few innings on TV. I heard the last at bat with Junior on
it
the
was
radio.
before the rain delay, and he was going out there and he tipped his cap. Like he took his cap off and looked towards their side and just was like, "Hey, I miss."
Funny.
It's like, come on, dude. Like
That's kind of
let
funny.
it. You're on a new team. Let's focus on that. And that's your old team. You don't need to tip your cap or say you miss them. Like, come
Kind of
on.
like when Randy went into the Rays locker room when they played in Seattle last year,
Yeah, well,
or the Rays clubhouse. So I know some people around the league were like, "That's
yeah.
super weird. He shouldn't do that." Yeah, I don't know. It is. Hey, but if he keeps doing that on the field, but pitching, giving up just the one hit and striking out two, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not as concerned about the bull. I mean, I know it's gonna be like a sore spot for Rays fans moving forward, and anytime like with the Orioles game on Saturday, I mean they won that by the skin of their teeth, right? But
Mhm.
and so it's gonna bring up kind of some PTSD when you start seeing the lead slip away with the bullpen arms. But I think with Boyle back there, Baker is a good pitcher. Obviously they just had him at a bad time there against the Red Sox. I don't know. You said it looked good. Like it's like all of a sudden,
I feel
you
better now
feels better.
I feel better now than what they did before the All-Star break. I feel better now. So we'll be
Yeah.
all right.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining into another episode of the Rays Rewind podcast. Make sure to go to @the_sick_podcast, Rays Rewind, hit that subscribe and notification bell. Go to the our Instagram page at Rays Rewind Pod. Hit that follow button too. We'll see you guys on another episode. I'm going to be out for a week in Miami. I'm going to check out the Marlins Park where they play the Padres on Tuesday, and I'll let you know. Should I wear my Rays gear going to the stadium Comment below, yes or no. I'll put out a Twitter poll too if I should wear my gear, see what kind of hot takes I get. But we'll see you next time on the Rays Rewind podcast. Peace.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Rays Rewind with L. Bushman and Drew on YouTube, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.